AI, what is it and how can it help you? If you're anything like me, I'm hearing all about how AI can help us do amazing things for us. I haven't got a freaking clue to where I should even start with it. Well, today we're going to learn how to get started with AI. Welcome to episode 23 of the Key Hire Small Business Podcast, where we cover all the issues that help small business owners scale their businesses. I'm Corey Harlock, creator of Key Hire Solutions, where we help small business grow with our talent, and I will be your host today. Our guest today is Lauren Glynn, and Lauren is a systems and operations consultant. She's worked with Fortune 500 and federal agencies. She likes to empower her clients to reduce working hours, which we all like, increase revenue and achieve better work-life balance, either through done with you or done for you services. And she has an approach where she builds scalable systems that will increase your profit margins and your efficiency. Cool note too. I think she's a born and raised Texas. She's lived all over Texas, and she's also lived in the Texas of Europe, which is Italy, if you didn't know that. So Matt, let's bring Lauren onto the show. Lauren, I don't know if Italy is the Texas of Europe. I don't think it is.
I don't know that I've ever heard of it referred to.
I know, I was just smart-ass, but who do you think is the Texas of Europe if we had to look at it?
I don't know that I would want to say that about anybody in Europe, because that could be taken in a very weird way. So
yeah, fair enough. And non-politically, right? Like just kind of like I guess they're all a little Texas in their own way. But,
yeah, they all have different aspects.
Yeah. So you're a coach and advisor to businesses. But what I thought was cool as we've kind of gotten to know each other, AI is not your thing. You're not an AI consultant. You're a systems consultant, but you've done the work that all of us small business owners should be doing, which is dabbling into AI and how to use AI to make us more effective, efficient, accurate, all that good stuff. And just for clarification, we're talking about kind of going on, and we talked about ChatGPT and Claude, CLAUDE, like the name Claude, as kind of those online websites where I can pull it up on my browser and type stuff into the box and get it to help me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, we always like to start with the question, what is it? So when we talk about using those, I guess maybe at a 30,000 foot overview, what kind of stuff can we be using Claude and Chat for?
All kinds of stuff. I have used it for so many different things in my business. I use it for email marketing. I use it for research. I use it for brainstorming. I use it to create content. I use it for designing my programs. I use it to help me figure out what's in my brain or what I might be missing. So, because there's a lot of different things that it can do, and there's a lot of things that it can't do. You have to keep in mind its limitations, but it's really about helping you sort of brainstorm, organize your thoughts, maybe get ideas, and, organize it all in more efficient way than you could potentially do on your own.
So that's a big, scary world you just talked about, right? So what might be a good jumping off point? I'm a business owner and I'm thinking, okay, I'm at my desk. I got 30 minutes in my schedule for miraculously that I don't have anything planned in. I'm going to try out this AI stuff. Mm-hmm. What's a good thing to trial it with or to play with? What's a good kind of first step?
So a good first step would be if you have a blog on your website and you're like, I don't even know what to write about today. I've written about the same thing over and over again. I don't have really a new approach for it. You can go to one of these AI services and say, I'm a business consultant and I help people with, for example, their systems and operations. And I need to write a blog post. Here are some of the pain points that my customers have. What are some topics that I can talk about in my blog? And the system will spit out however many topics you ask it for and give you ideas of what it is that you can write about in your blog. And then you can kind of finesse it from there. It can help you create an outline and actually write the post if you want, create titles, things like that. But that's a really good sort of easy jumping off point to figure out, okay, what am I doing with this? How does it work? How do I actually go in and ask it for things?
So my first thought was, okay, I'm a business manager. I probably have a marketing person that would do that. But if I'm like the owner operator, maybe I have to respond to an email. Maybe I have a report sitting on my desk. Someone sent me some information, and I'm pretending like I know what it means, but I really don't know it. What are some things as an owner that I could maybe use it to do something inside my business?
Yeah. So exactly what you said. If you get an email that comes in and you're like, this is a lot of like jargon that I don't understand, or it's people, it's not your area of responsibility, but you want to be able to speak to it eloquently, you can put that right into ChatGPT or Claude and say, summarize this for me, or explain it like I'm 5, or, tell me how to, explain it and then tell me how to respond. You can also ask it to write an email for you. Say you need to send an email to someone and you're not really sure how to word it, what you want the phrasing to be. You can ask ChatGPT or Claude to go in and say, I need to write an email to this person. It has to be about this. It should include these bullet points. Write the email for me and do it in this tone, in this manner. And it will write the email for you so that you don't have to spend the time sitting there thinking about it, deleting a sentence, adding a sentence back in. You're not really sure. And then you can go in and tweak it to make sure that it says what you need it to say, but it can kind of give you that starting point. You can also use it to just summarize information. If you're reading a website and you're like, oh, this is a really long website, I really just need to know the bullet points. I don't really, need to know all the fluff that they're talking about their dog and the whatever. You can put that into the system and say, summarize this for me, give me the top 3 points, tell me what I really need to know from this so that I can pass by all the fluff. And that can be a lot faster than sitting there and reading through whatever that website is that you're trying to decipher.
So just to be clear, when you say you can put that in, so if I want to respond to an email, I would then need to copy and paste that email into chat and then give it those parameters saying,
yes,
please give me a polite response that says no.
Yeah, exactly.
Or please give me a polite response that says, we can do that, we can't do that, we can whatever, but
and we're not right now,
or make it casual, or make it whatever.
Yeah. And you can always also go back and give it feedback. So if it gives you something, some sort of output, and you're like, oh, it's missing this piece that I need, or it sounds too formal, or it sounds not formal enough, you can say, okay, rewrite it in a more formal tone, or rewrite it in a more casual tone, or rewrite it as if it's a conversation with a friend, so that it can get the tone, then the style that you're kind of going for. But you do have to, these apps cannot read the internet, so you do have to copy and paste the text into the program that you're using so that it can read it.
That's a good part, because the I have used it and said, hey, give me information off this website, and it says like, sorry, I don't have access to that.
Yes.
Like, all right, I'll say like, go on the web and like research these 3 companies for me, and it'll come back and say, yeah, no, I can't do that.
And a lot of them have information from, say, companies, but it's probably not up to date. Some of them are only up to date through mid 2023. Some of them are only through 2021. So it might have information. It just may not be the most up to date. So it can be a good starting point for research, but it's not going to do all of the research for you because it doesn't have all of the information.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a bit. So that's cool. I mean, and I asked for like a great jumping off point. And I think responding to an email or summarizing information, if I got to scroll through a website for 5 or 10 minutes to try to find the information I'm looking for, versus like copy, drop it and say, give me the 3 main points here, that's going to save me some time.
Yeah.
Or I think we've all agonized over, not all the emails are easy to compose and send, right? I think most of us, we get those occasional emails where we're like, I'm going to sit on that one for a day. I don't quite know how to respond. So those are really great jumping off points, but maybe, so if that's tier 1, right? AI, what might be an example of things a business owner could do to look at process improvements, or make improvements within the business that you'd say were tier 2, like next level of difficulty?
So next level of difficulty would be potentially using it to help you set goals. So say you have a business and you've been going for a while, but you've been really stuck in running the business and haven't had a chance to kind of like think about the bigger picture, the strategy around your business, what you want your business to look like. You can go into one of these tools and say, I'm a ex business owner, here's what we do, who we help, what the services are that we provide. Here's sort of our current results. What do you think should be the next steps for the business? And it's not going to be it's not going to give you the answer, but it can help you kind of figure out where you want to take it, where you want to go. It can give you kind of breadcrumbs for you to help figure out where you want to go with your business and set those goals. And again, it's not a business owner, but it can at least kind of start helping you get the wheels turning about what you should be thinking about, what you should be focusing on. My revenue is X. What do you think I should be focusing on to get to the next level? And again, It's not a strategist. It's not going to give you all the correct answers necessarily, but it can start those wheels turning. It can start you kind of thinking about those things. So then you can use it to kind of set goals. Then you can say, okay, if X, Y, and Z are my goals for the next quarter, what should I be focusing on to get there? Again, not going to give you the perfect answers, but it'll give you that jumping off point of what you could potentially be focusing on and thinking about.
And so what I think I heard you say was, sometimes as business owners we're busy, and when we get that creative time, when you're moving around the floor and doing what you got to do, you have all these ideas, then you sit down and it's like, okay, I got to capture all these ideas. And then it just like goes blank, right? So this, you can use it to kind of prod yourself, to give you that like nudge, like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that. Let's go now. Then once you start kind of generating ideas, you generate more and more and more, and you can better utilize your time rather than sitting there looking at a screen, typing something, going, that sucks. Delete, delete, delete. Let's start again.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So we always like to move into, okay, now we kind of have talked about what we can do with it and how we can do it and what are the different things we can do with it. What mistakes do you see people make when they use AI? And I'll take away the easy one, which is they're not using it. So I'll take that one off the table. So as people are thinking about using it, what mistakes do you encounter people making that they might think they're using it correctly? Or tell me what kind of stuff you see where you're like, we could do this better.
The biggest thing is actually relying on it too heavily. Once you start using it, it's really easy to kind of use it as a crutch and not have your own critical thinking to go along with it. So it's using it too heavily and just kind of taking whatever it spits out and implementing it. In the example we just talked about, where you're creating goals for your business, you don't want to take what AI is spitting out at you as the gospel, because it doesn't know you. It doesn't know your business. It's not a business strategist. It's really a tool for you to apply your own critical thinking and actually process the information and make decisions and things like that. So I would say the biggest mistake is relying too heavily on it. And then the next mistake.
So can I just jump in there? Would that kind of fall into as well, like trusting what it gives you?
Yes, exactly. Because AI makes mistakes. We all know that. It also has biases that you have to be aware of. So you want to make sure that you're still using your human brain and not purely relying on what AI is spitting out. It's a good tool, but it shouldn't be the only thing.
And so I know in school, my daughter, I think it happened in my daughter's school. One of her kids got 0 on a paper because they AI'd it and they didn't proofread it. And within the paper itself, it said, "But what do I know? I'm just an AI bot, or I'm just an AI website, whatever it was, right?" And teachers like 0 because
that's a good way to get caught.
but I think in the times I have used it to generate words like an email or maybe something for a presentation, it's not as I would say it. And actually, if you read it, you're like, I don't know if anyone would say it quite like that. And you can even rewrite it. And it will tweak it around, but sometimes it's just not
natural.
Yeah, there's something there, right? So I think that if you're going to use the information it gives you to present it or to put it in an email, that taking a moment to proofread it and maybe do some edits and sub out some words and put words that you would generally use is, and it's a mistake I haven't made, but I've caught myself, right? Because I'm like, oh no, I can't send that. And so I always make sure I proofread what I'm going to send or present that's generated through AI.
Yeah. And that was actually going to be the next mistake that I say, is not rewording it into your own voice. It's funny because if you go on social media and you start looking at some of these posts, once you start using AI, you can actually tell which of these posts were probably AI generated because they start to sound the same and they start to have the same structure and they start to have the same voice. So it's really important that if you're using AI to generate content or words of any kind, that you are putting it in your own voice, or you're prompting it enough so that it's not doing it in the generic AI voice and it's actually sounding more like a human. You can prompt it enough so that it sounds a little bit more human, but you're always going to want to edit it a little bit because it's never going to be totally human sounding.
So could I prompt it to say, make this sound like it's coming from a 50-something male? Like, can we get that specific? And we might be getting into deep water with that, but you know what I mean? Can I get it to lean one way or another?
You can give it information. So like what I like to do, my tone in my content is like very conversational. It's very, like I'm talking to a friend. And so that's the prompt that I give it. When you write this, make it sound like a conversation with a friend. And sometimes it goes like really perky and like really almost ditzy. And I'm like, that's not quite what we're looking for. But so then I backtrack a little bit and I say, okay, we'll make it sound like slightly more professional and a little less casual. So you can refine it that way after you get the results and kind of give it that feedback to where you want it to go. You can also upload a sample of your own writing and say, here's the tone and style that I'm going for, create something that sounds like the same as this. So that's another way that you can also do it, is give it a sample.
That kind of loosey-goosey with the prompts, like make it less casual, more professional. Like we don't need to have like parameters that are so rigid. Like this thing can pick up on that kind of subtlety.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can also just hit the refresh button and it'll retry it, giving your initial information. So even if you don't give it any more information.
You don't need to say like try it again or rewrite it.
Nope, there's a refresh button and it'll just try again. I like to give it more information because I want to tell it why I didn't like it, as opposed to just asking it to retry with the same information, because then it doesn't know what it did wrong. And so it may or may not fix the part that you're focused on.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, what other, that's incredible. I mean, that's, again, I think we're so used to using computer and computer prompts and stuff like that, that it's like got to be so succinct, or Googling, right? I mean, but it's funny, now you even search something on a website and it's an AI bot that's generating that top kind of summary now that comes up, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's useful information to tell people, like, it's okay to be like super casual at this thing and just kind of play around with words until you find what you're looking for and the best way that you can have it spit something out that's closest to your voice or the way you want it.
Yeah. And the other thing tangential to that I would suggest people do is ask it to say, ask any questions that you need to complete this request. So after every request that I give it, I always prompt it at the end to say, ask any questions you need to complete this request. And it'll usually give me 3 to 7 questions of like, okay, give me this additional information so that I can create the thing that really works for you, as opposed to just something generic. So by adding that into your prompt, you will really get back the information that you're looking for and the style that you're looking for and for the audience that you're looking for it in, as opposed to just something really generic that you have to kind of keep going back and forth with it.
I had no idea you could do that. Like that is wild. So it sounds like one of the mistakes people can make is like not being free enough or experimenting enough with what you can ask or challenge this thing to do.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because it's not human, but sometimes you almost feel like you want to thank it too. You're like, oh, thanks. That was really great.
Well, there's that argument, right? Like people that say like when you boss AI around, I think it was even Elon Musk who like they have those little AI like robots that walk around. The guys kick them and try to knock them off balance. He's like, I wouldn't be doing that.
Do you really want to be on that side?
Smart enough to know that you've been kicking them, right?
Yeah.
And, there are people that like I do when it spits stuff out and I like it. I'll be like, thanks, or please, can you please produce something, la la la.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
Yeah. You don't want to be on the bad side. That's all I'm saying.
Right. What other mistakes do you see people make? These are wild, by the way. These are great.
So I would say kind of along the lines of what we were talking about, not putting in good prompts, not asking them for what you actually want. I always start my prompt with who I am and who I serve and the problems that I solve, because that gives AI context on what it is that they're looking at, sort of who they're directing their information for, depending on what you're spitting out. Giving it context around what you're asking it for will really help the quality of the information that you get back. So by including who you are, who you serve, who you help, what your role is, what the intention is of what you're asking for it to do, that will really help it create a much more valuable output than just kind of saying, respond to this email. Because just respond to this email doesn't give it all of the context that you have already in your head. So it's not going to necessarily create what it is that you're thinking about.
So I don't want to get your secret sauce, but could you give us an example of what that prompt might, like the beginning of that prompt, that who you are and who you serve? How might you? It's hard. It's a horrible thing to do to you off the top of your head, but how might you enter that into Chat or Claude as a query?
So I actually have it in front of me, so I'm glad I was prepared. I'm a systems and operations consultant for established small service-based business owners who want to work fewer hours and make more money without the chaos and overwhelm. That's just my regular pitch that I have prepared for anyone who asks what I do. And then I go into what I want from them. I want you to act as an email marketer and create a newsletter that talks about my latest blog post. Here's the text of my latest blog post. I have copied and pasted it into this prompt. I want this newsletter to cover, the basic points of the blog post, but I also want it to drive people to read the blog post. So make a call to action at the end to read more and find out more and actually find out, whatever the tip is or the how-to is that's covered in the blog post. And so that's the whole prompt is here's who I am, here's what I want you to do, and here's what the parameters are for your output. So it should be a newsletter. It should be so many words. It should be in a conversational tone. It should have a call to action to go read the rest of the blog post. And then we kind of refine it from there.
Wow. That's wild. So is this just in like paragraph form or are you bullet pointing it? How does it work?
Just paragraph form. And sometimes I'll bullet point it if I'm feeling really fancy, but it can follow your formatting pretty well. So you don't have to get crazy with formatting. It'll just mostly focus on the words. You don't have to get real fancy with it.
Crazy. Matt, I hope you're listening to this, buddy. That's some really, really cool stuff. So let's kind of move on now. So or did you have one more you want to talk about?
Well, I was to make Matt's life easier, actually, as an example, another way you could also use this system is if you have a transcript of something. So say you have a recording of a podcast or a video and you want to create a description of it, or you want to create an email announcement of it. You can export that transcript, upload it into Claude or ChatGPT and say, I am blah, blah, blah. This is a transcript for a recent podcast episode that I did. Please write a podcast description for it and a title and an email for it and, 5 different social media posts for it. And, give it more information than that. And it will spit all of that information out for you based on that transcript that you've uploaded.
So I think of something I don't know. I want to know this. So once I upload that into the bot, it becomes the domain of the bot to use for their future stuff as well now, right?
It could be. It depends on who you use and their privacy controls and things like that. But it is a consideration.
That's an issue. So if I have some proprietary information I want to keep for myself, I might not want to upload it without doing a little homework.
A little scrubbing also. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's possible. But remember, once you put something out in the public domain, it's going to be public knowledge anyway. So if it's a podcast episode that you're putting out or a YouTube episode that you're putting out anyway, then it's going to be in the public domain, and
That's
it's
why I
not
say no. Like you have some
like a client meeting.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like you have some confidential information from a client, or you have some proprietary information that you kind of want to. You'll show people the hard copy, but you don't want to post it online or whatever.
Right.
Once you put it in there, it becomes, I don't know if public domain is the right word, but it becomes part of the lexicon out there, and people can, and now it's going to use that information is going to be part of the information it's pulling on to create other documents.
It depends on the tool. So you'll just have to research how each tool handles the information that you enter into it to see how it handles the information, whether it does become part of the lexicon or not.
Right.
But definitely consideration.
I think it's just worth putting out
Keeping
there.
in the back of your mind, yes.
And if you're going to try that, anyone who's listening, do your homework. We're not experts. We're not advising it. Cool. So let's move on to, and I mean, I think we've touched on like 100 things people could do, but for you, I'd be interested to see, like in your journey in this, what were the kind of top 3 things me as a business owner, or any business owner out there listening right now, if like you said, they've been hearing about this, and I think the problem with it is it's too big, right? Mm-hmm. And when you sit down and you want to do massive things with it, but really it's hard to figure out what you want to use it for, right? And so if I want to dip my toe in the world of AI and start putting it into my bucket of resources and tapping it kind of on a regular basis like I would any of my other resources out there, how can I just get started without feeling overwhelmed or screwing things up or feeling like a dummy, whatever it might be?
Well, first keep in mind that you can't really screw it up because it's not, it's not going anywhere automatically. Nobody's going to see your conversation with AI, except for maybe another AI. Nobody's going to be judging you on how you're using it or what you're entering or what you're taking away from it. So first, sort of let yourself be okay with experimenting, seeing how it works, seeing what you can do with it, jumping that or dipping that toe in, I should say. So being comfortable and understanding that it's not brain surgery. Nobody's going to die if you put in a bad prompt. You can't wreck the AI program. So it's okay. It's not, life changing.
But don't you find people want to do it as close to perfectly as they can the first time, right? It's like writing. Like good writers know you write for the trash can, and eventually something good will write out. But the inexperienced writer thinks the first, like, oh, this is garbage. I tried it twice and it still isn't working out. It's no good, right? So we try to do it perfectly the first time. And what I'm hearing you say is, there's no perfect, just do it.
There is no perfect. And it's a learning curve. And the other thing I will also add is you can ask AI, say, I want you to create X. What do you need from me to do that? And it will tell you what it needs so that you can write a prompt that it can actually use. So you can even use AI to figure out how to use AI. So
I think that's a powerful statement right there. Like, go to the expert, right? Go to the hard.
And so what I've also done in the past is I have inputted information and I said, what prompt do I have to write to get you to create something like this? And then AI will tell me, like, this is how you tell me how you want this information. This is the tone that you use. This is the length. This is the content, the bullet points that I need. And it actually wrote its own prompt for me to do the same thing in the future. So again, going to the expert to figure out how to use it will almost invariably work for you, especially to start.
So cool. Awesome. Okay. What else can we do to get started?
So I would find one small thing that you can do to go into AI and say, okay, help me with this. I'm an X, I do this, I help these people, and I just want to do this one thing. And
so that's like you said, like use your elevator pitch to set the parameter of and tone of who you are. Okay. Sorry. I like to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying.
Yep. So do that elevator pitch of who you are, who you help, and the pain points that you have. And then just go in and start small. I need you to help me figure out topics I could use on a podcast, or, I know your business owners may be too big for this, but blog post topics that I can do. Or what I've also helped my clients do is figure out their elevator pitch, because they couldn't put it together. They knew who they helped, they knew what the pain points were, but they couldn't really kind of articulate that to their customers.
Right.
So we sat down together in a session and we brainstormed all of those things and who she helped. And we came up with something, but it was like really clunky and it was really long. And so I said, okay, I'm going to put it into AI and see what we get. And we could created her elevator pitch using AI. So you can use it for all kinds of things and all kinds of brainstorming and all kinds of streamlining things. It's really great for that. Like, I don't know what to say or how I want to say it, but I know what I want it to include. It's really great for kind of sitting down and helping you figure all of that out.
Right. My personal experience was like, I took an email that was a little uncomfortable, but not super uncomfortable. And I like said, how would I write an email asking about this? And just to see what it gave me back, right? And I used about, I think, 2/3 of that email. I deleted an entire line. I combined 2 lines together after when I was done. But it got me where I wanted to go. Like you said, it gave that little nudge to say, okay, here's a great jumping off point for you to do it. So, I mean, I'm biased because that's what I did. And I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. That was pretty painless.
Well, the other things that I've used it for is actually designing my services. So I specifically went in and I said, here's my ideal customer. Here's the pain points that I have. How can I help them? What services can I provide that would actually help them build their businesses, scale, whatever it is that they wanted to do? And it gave me a lot of ideas. And then I would build off the ideas. And I would say, oh, I liked, number 2 that you gave me, but I wanted to change it to include this, or I wanted it to be more like this. And it would say, okay, let's do that. And then it would give me more information and we would kind of go back and forth on it. So yeah. So if you're really stuck with like, I want to add new products or services, but I'm not sure what would really be helpful, they can at least, and obviously it's not market research. It's not, talking to your customers to see what your customers would actually want or use, but it can give you somewhere to start from and something to jump off from so that you're not just sitting there, like you said, staring at a blank document going, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, for sure. Man, this has been awesome, Lauren. Like this is, it's been, this is right what we like to do, right? Like there's something out there. We're all talking about it. How many of us have actually used it? Why haven't we used it? How can we make it less imposing and more approachable for people that, business owners, we say it all the time. I mean, they're out there working their tails off. They got their heads down. They're big in the community, right? And they're the economic engine of the country, and any way we can help them or make them more efficient or give them more tools, that's what we want to do with this podcast. And I think you've given, I'm sure there's people out there that are thinking, yeah, I got it, I use it a lot, right? But there's probably more people out there thinking, I've been thinking about how I can use it, like everyone keeps talking about, but I have no idea where to start. And I think it's been a wonderful jumping off point. So if there are people out there now who are like, yeah, I got to do more, or, Lauren could probably really help me with my business, be more efficient and get more work-life balance and increase my quality, whatever it is, with your expertise when it comes to systems and implementation, how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my main platform is actually LinkedIn because I love connecting with other business owners. So you can see the address right on the screen, linkedin.com/in/Lauren Glynn. That is where I'm most active. That's where I love interacting with people, making connections. And if you want to learn more about AI, or if you want just sort of more jumping off points to get started, I actually have a free PDF guide that you can go and download. It's at laurenglynn.com/prompts, and it's 15 AI prompts. It also gives you guidelines for how to write the prompts. How do you get started with them? How do you actually write effective prompts? So all of that is included in that free guide, and you can go and get that, like I said, laurenglynn.com/prompts, totally free. Great jumping off point for getting started.
Very cool. And I guess that's your personal website as well.
It sure is, yes.
Awesome. And you're a fellow, there you go, Lauren Glynn. And you're a fellow Houstonian, so.
Yes, I think we're only about, 15 miles apart? Is that what we figured out?
So yeah, we're pretty close. We'll whip a rock. But hey, Thank you so much. This has been great. I've gotten a lot out of the conversation, and I hope people listening get a lot out of it too. I hope Matt got a lot out of it as well. But thanks so much. It's been great.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Our pleasure.